Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 11th of April 2022. It's Gary here again, and I am very, very, very happy that I feel a lot better than I did this time last week. Woofed. It takes me longer and longer and longer to recover from Vegas trips these days. And I would like to start by apologising for my stand-in last week on last week's pod. He only gave everyone a 15-minute show when we had an old firm game to talk about. We had some bottles being thrown all over the place, and 15 minutes is all you got. What's that all about? What's he all about? I'm glad I'm back. And I can promise you that we won't use that guy again. I'm just not happy with the performance until the 6th of June. I might have to use him again on the 6th of June, which is the Monday straight after the convention down in Vegas. But today's pod, I reckon, will probably be longer, and I'm fairly sure you're all delighted to hear that. So on to the game segment from this past week. We had two games to cover. The first one was the Europa League quarter-final first leg away to Braga last Thursday, where we succumbed to a 1-0 defeat, which, for anyone counting, was our third defeat in 4 competitive games, just so you know. And I thought we did ride our luck a wee bit in the second half of the first half, if you know what I mean, with Braga hitting the inside of the post and then getting a goal, which I thought was a genuine goal. Then it was chalked off by our favourite referee, VAR, for a quite rightly chalked off for a foul on Ryan Jack in the build-up to the goal. And just like the first 20 minutes, solid. It looked like we were back to our confident best, our confident European best. And then in that second half of the first half, our defence just seemed to be at absolute 6s and 7s for the remainder of the half. And, you know, it's not that we don't have the bodies in the box. You know, we normally have more than enough, but it just seems like they're the Keystone Cops when the ball comes in. It's literally hearts in the mouth stuff almost every single time, because it's like they just don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what their roles are supposed to be, or the ball is like a hot potato, or whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure. You know, we did have a bit of a chance. Sakala had a great first touch, and then he absolutely skies the ball into oblivion. I think the boy hit it with absolutely everything he had, and I don't know if that's a sign of panic or immaturity or whatever it is. The ball is likely still coming down, but we didn't register one shot on target. We had one that ended up being offside through the passage of play. So not one shot on target for the entire game, and I'm fairly sure you know that if you don't get shots on target, you're very, very unlikely to score goals unless you get some sort of wicked deflection going in your favour. But the most noteworthy chance, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, I know I am, but the most noteworthy chance that I can remember for us was around about the 70-minute mark, where a great ball comes in and we have an absolute free header from Connor Goldson, who once again, unfortunately, did what Connor Goldson does in the opposition box and completely botched the chance and floated it over. I don't know what he was thinking. It was almost like it was slow motion when I seen it first time. It was almost like it was slow motion where he's thinking, I surely can't be onside. I surely can't have all this space. Whatever it was, maybe too much time. But this guy, when he's attacking, just frustrates me so much. Imagine we had a centre half who was also a genuine threat in the opposition box. Jeez, I mean, the guy would be pushing for double figures in goals every single season. You know, and I think Philip Hollander is kind of like that. You know, he's scored his share of goals, and he just gets himself in and about there and knows what he's trying to do. But instead we've got Goldson, who misses, it must be 95+% of his chances, something like that. Anyway, I don't know exactly what it is. But one other thing I noticed in the game was that around about 15 to 20 minutes or so to go, that Braga either took their foot off the gas, which is kind of seems unlikely, or they tired quite remarkably, because we had a lot of the play and we were certainly the team in the ascendancy towards the end of the game, I felt, and I'm sure that's not going to be lost on our management team, and probably not theirs either. If we come out of the traps flying on Thursday and keep some momentum going and finish the game as strongly as we did in Portugal, we could be talking next week about a semi-final appearance, which is just utterly insane to even be saying those words based on the season we've had. as well. I did look at the Braga result yesterday that they had domestically, and they won 1-0 away from home, but they did get a red card just before the break. So they played the full half, they seen it out to get the victory. They were already 1-0 up when they got the red card. And you know what? Maybe that's just another wee thing that's going to get them a wee bit tired, because then they have to travel from Portugal and then they have to get themselves in Glasgow, and the signs are looking up. And as I was saying to my dad earlier today, we do what we know we can do, and we win that game on Thursday. Anyway, enough about that. For right now, second game was away in the most beautiful town in the UK against St Mirren yesterday morning, and with the Saints having confirmed their spot in the bottom six of the Premiership without even kicking a ball, that was all confirmed for them on Saturday. So having lost 3 of our previous 4 games, as I had mentioned, we did get off to a fantastic start with a superbly worked goal that culminated in a fantastic ball whipped in from Ryan Kent to Goal Machine. We're going to call him that now. Goal Machine Kamar Roof to head it in from about 5 or 6 yards out, and that was just in the second minute. And it had this, then for me anyway, it had this familiar feel to it, like the old Firm game from the week before, where I'm like, oh no, what's happening? What's going to happen next? Because straight away we let St Mirren right back into the game, and they started to press us, and they pressed us pretty hard, to be fair. And then in 17 minutes, Goldson marauded forward, received the ball, and smashes a shot that, you guessed it, didn't hit the target. Didn't hit the target. My apologies. And most likely almost smashed my dad's window up in the Dyke Bar area of the town. Just the guy frustrates me. Anyway, it was interesting to see former Ranger Jordan Jones, who's on loan at St Mirren from Wigan, in the lineup for them. Yeah, just a shame. A wee bit of lamenting when it comes to Jordan Jones, because we all knew that he was a wee bit of a rogue, but we knew that he had the talent and really hoped that he could maybe hone it at Rangers, but he decided that wasn't for him, and I guess that's the way that it goes. Then comes some of the kind of not so great news. Around the 25th minute, we lost John Lundstrom, which it looked like on the TV appeared to be a groin injury. That's what he was kind of pointing at, which is not what we want to see prior to Thursday's crucial home leg for the Europa quarter final. Thankfully, his replacement was the most internationally capped British player in history, Stephen Davis. How great was it to see Stephen Davis back again? And we did enjoy another shot on target. No shots on target from the second minute from the goal until 39 minutes, when Aaron Ramsey got into a good position and made the save. Sorry, I had the shot and the goalie made the save. And then the goalie, this is starting to creep back into I'm kind of complaining a wee bit at the beginning. I don't mean to be overly complaining, but the goalie makes a save and then gets up. And this 6-second rule, is that just not a rule anymore, where he can just go for a wee run and it's 10, 11, 12, 13 seconds, time after time after time? And it's him and almost every other goalie that you see these days that does that, which is kind of frustrating. See, when I'm playing football, I start counting, and the referee gets pissed off with me and tells me to shut it, but I start counting 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just to get a wee bit more awareness anyway. And then, unfortunately, not long after that, we lost Philip Hollander, and just before half time, and it was just a kind of like a nothing wee wrestle that he had with Brophy, and he went down, and looks like something's happened. I haven't heard anything today actually about what his scans came out with, so if that's came out, my apologies that I've missed us. But it's another worry for us in terms of domestic, but not so much for Thursday, because he wasn't in the European squad because he was injured at the time when we had to make up the squad, so no material loss for us for Thursday's game. But we do have a big semi-final to look forward to on the weekend, and so that obviously doesn't look like good news for him or us. A bright spot on that, though, was that Leon King was his replacement. I just assumed that we would just go with Balogun, but no, we decided that it was going to be Leon King, maybe protecting Balogun for Thursday, I'm not sure. And it's really uplifting to see the academy players coming on and getting some minutes, and I thought he was absolutely flawless during the game, so that bodes well for us in the run-in, because we do have a lot of games coming thick and fast, and hopefully some more European games after this Thursday as well. Not long after that, Aaron Ramsey then hits the bar, should have scored really, almost on the stroke of half time, and then very shortly after that, Ramsey releases Tav on the right hand side. He puts a great ball in, and an even better header for Roof's second goal. None of these two headed goals were easy by any stretch of the imagination. He did really well. And interestingly, if you look at the replay, Tav didn't look for his man when he crossed it. Instead, he was just making sure that he was placing it into a specific area, and what a great cross he put in, followed by a fantastic finish. As I say, look at this concept we have. If we service our strikers the way that they want to be serviced, they're going to score goals. Wow. So 2-0 at half time. Second half, we made some strategic subs. Sands and Wright coming on. And I'm not 100% sure when Fashion Sakala came on, but he was involved in setting, that's a bit tongue-in-cheek of course, but he was involved in setting Roof for his hat-trick with a neat finish that he worked hard for, and just a great hat-trick, great to see, and it's his first hat-trick for the club. I learned afterwards to say, and I have to say, the second half really solid. We drove forward pretty much the whole half. Our fourth goal was from Joe Aribo, remember that guy? And with an absolute peach of a curling finish into the top corner. Hopefully that's the spark he needs to get back into the form that we know he has. I would love that if that's the case, because he's been an absolute shadow of himself since he came back from AFCON earlier in the year. And McGregor had almost nothing to do the whole game, and then made a brilliant save towards the end, around about the 85th minute, to keep the clean sheet. And 4-0 is how it finished. So as I say, properly service your striker and keep things tight at the back, and then all of a sudden we've got ourselves a team again. So, and just another way aside, it was also great to see Borna back at his best. He gets a wee special mention as well, because he was just back to his best. It was just the same old Borna. A couple of mistakes, of course, but I think almost everyone had a couple of mistakes in the game. On the referee watch for the European game, I'm kind of almost getting bored lauding the referees from the European games. They're just superb, absolutely superb, and that referee, I never seen him do too much wrong last week there as well. So referee from yesterday, John Beaton, I didn't think he had a bad game. In fact, I think he was having, dare I say it, a good game until about, the 80th minute or so, and then Ahmad, remember that guy that we said? He just got absolutely emptied by the Simon defender. Put the ball past him, goes to run past him. The guy just clocks him, and he's looking right at it, and he doesn't give any foul. Just an incredibly naive, poor decision. But despite that, I'm going to give him, what will I give? I'll give him a 7.5 out of 10. I was going to give him a 7, but he didn't get himself too involved in the game, which is really all I'm asking for from referees. So where does that leave us? It leaves us 6 points, and I think it's 19 goals behind the mob from the East End, with 5 games to play, which really is grim reading and just incredible to contemplate after the lead we had and the points that we literally threw away of our own accord, especially in February. The top 6 includes the Old Firm, then Hearts, Motherwell, Dundee United and Ross County. And you know what? Fair play to Ross County for their resurgence, as they look to be in big trouble. I think I actually mentioned it in a couple of pods at the early start of the season. I just thought they were doomed at the bottom of the table earlier in the season, and they've done incredibly well to make it to the top 6. My challenge is, with this vain strain of hope that we might be able to turn things around, is Hearts aside, I just can't see any of the other teams taking points off that mob. And as I mentioned last week, the performance and result against the EastEnders last weekend took the title out of our own hands, which is just god awful overall. What I am seeing a lot of chatter about over this last wee while, especially as things have turned a wee bit sour for the team, is a lot of chatter about Giovanni's substitutions in games, and either he does too many, or he does the wrong ones, or he doesn't do any, or whatever. And I have to say, I'm a bit torn on this one. And I'll tell you why. We don't see what the manager sees during the week. We don't get information from the coaching staff. We don't know the conversations the player has with the coaches and manager, nor the conversations that the coaches and manager would have with them. We don't see the analysis they've done on the other teams, or the tactics the other teams would typically deploy under certain situations. And as a result of that, we don't really know if the players have been asked to do something different than we'd typically expect them to do, and we typically don't get to hear any or much of the chatter that goes on the field. That's why long ago I've dialed it back on my substitutions criticism, because there's just so many unknowns as to what's going on, what's been talked about, what's been told to a player, what's been asked of a player, other games that are coming up soon, and things like that. And on the midweek Ryan Jack one, for example, in the European game, you could see Jack wasn't happy when he came off. But from the manager's point of view, it could have been, he's not long back in the team after a very lengthy injury. He had 2 bad tackles in the game. He won for the disallowed goal, which I talked about a wee bit earlier, and the other one where he got rightfully booked for. So he's been in the wars. He's on a yellow, and maybe that was the manager's, inspiration to say, like, okay, let's protect him on a few fronts here. We've got some bigger games coming up. We'll see how it goes. I've no idea. I really don't. But it's not the most outlandish thought, So all that to say, when things aren't going our way, we tend to see things and look at things a wee bit differently. And maybe it's a glass half empty instead of glass half full. And sometimes we maybe just have to trust in the management team that they do, in fact, know what they're doing. That's a good place for me to kind of try and come from anyway, and it saves me getting a wee bit bent about another thing to do with our team, especially this season. So this week, 2 massive games. One, the second leg of the Europa League, which I've talked about a couple of times, and the other one, the Old Firm Scottish Cup semi-final. The return match is this Thursday with a 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. We've really set ourselves up for bringing home just a 1-goal deficit, while not at our best at all last week. And if the St Mirren game is anything to go by, we might just have some crucial players hitting form just exactly when it matters. It would have been good if they'd have done that at Ibrox against the mob from the East last week, but better late than never. Ibrox, we know, is going to be absolutely bouncing for this one, and I just can't wait to see the game. I'm supposed to have a meeting for the second half. I'm going to try and see what I can do to get out of that one. But if I don't, I'm going to have to maybe just record it and watch it straight after or something like that. So I cannot wait for this one. Just a quick reminder that the RTV doesn't cover these games live, and they'll be available in streaming channels such as Paramount Plus in the UK and DAZN in Canada. Second game is at Hampden on Sunday, and the kickoff for this one is 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 2 p.m. UK kickoff. And if you take the early February doing that they gave us out of the equation, I honestly think there's very, very little between the teams. So I'm actually fairly confident that if we show up like we know we can, and that's the absolute key here, we need every single player in our dressing room hungry and believing unequivocally that they have what is needed to win this game. Then if they do that, then I'm predicting a very good day for us to round off a very good week for us. I'm somewhat over the disappointment of throwing the advantage in the league over to them, and I'm now just concentrating on what we can control, and what we can control is 2 massive, absolutely, utterly colossal, massive performances and results this week to bring some much needed optimism back for the remaining weeks of the season. Why can't we progress to the semis of the Europa League and have a cup final to look forward to in May? No reason if we apply ourselves. So play to our strengths, manage the games in the games. So it's time for the boys to truly step up and just show us what they're absolutely made of. And I'm so praying that they actually do that, because they need to give us something. This could be one of the best weeks of our lives, or it could be one of the worst weeks. That's the joys of being a sports fan, I guess. So today, the post-split fixtures were also announced, giving Rangers 3 away games to navigate as we close in on the end of the season. The fixtures that we have, if you haven't seen them already, is away to Motherwell on the 24th of April. That's a Sunday, with a 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon UK kickoff. Then away to the East End mob on Sunday the 1st of May at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time again. Then we're at home to Dundee United on Sunday the 8th of May. That's a 10 a.m, 3 p.m. UK kickoff, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then at home to Ross County in the second last game. That's a midweek game, Wednesday the 11th of May. That's a 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 7:45 in the UK. And then we're away to Hearts at the very end of the season on Saturday, May the 14th. And that's a 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 12:15 in the UK. And I can just imagine the conversations now, just hypothesising for a wee second. Outside of Celtic, what's the hardest possible game that we can give Rangers on the last game, just in case our team slips up between now and then? Well, I have news for you, SPFL bigwigs. Rangers have done a great job of handily dropping points against every single one of those teams, all on our own this season. So you don't need to think that you're stacking the deck against us or anything like that. We have done it, and that's why we're in the position that we are in right now. Dundee United and Ross County. Of late, Hearts last year when McGregor just decided to come out for one ball for one time in his whole season and just flop it into the Hearts guy path and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think they're doing us any favours. I don't think they're doing us any harm either. We need to navigate these 5 games and see where we go from there. Imagine the scene here. We have a great result on Thursday. We get through. We have a great result and a good performance on Sunday. And then that starts to put the seed of doubt into everyone's mind, saying, wait a minute, I thought this was done. And now we've still got 5 games to go, one of them against them. You never know. Dare to dream, dare to dream. So, yeah, one decent kick-off time, one midweek kick-off, and then some kind of crappy kick-off times, and then that's it for the 21-22 season. Have to say, nowhere near as fun as this time last season, but I guess that's really what happens when you don't speculate to accumulate as a football club. For RTV, the same as before, our main focus right now is to collect the fees from all the clubs that haven't paid yet, so if that's your club, go to stop that, please. For shout-outs this week, this one could come as a shout-out, or it could, we could resurrect the What Gaz Got Wrong section from a wee while back. Last week the guy who replaced me mentioned Brian Campbell's birthday celebration as the entire NARSA executive were in Las Vegas planning, and I was reliably informed that it wasn't in fact his birthday that weekend, and we just wanted to do a wee bit of pre-celebration and get a free dessert or whatever it was we were doing, and his birthday is in fact this week, tomorrow. So apparently I was told this at the time in Vegas, but I don't think that was what happened, so I don't recall it anyway. So I'll take my licks this week and move on, and as I say, his birthday is tomorrow, so I'm going to try this again. Happy birthday, Brian. And this is hopefully the last time we'll have to say that this month. Speaking of Brian, he did send me this shout out for this week too, and I'll just read it out here. Orange County Rangers Supporters Club member Darren Campbell, no relation to Brian, and his lovely partner Michelle welcomed their baby son into the world. Lennox Tiago Campbell was born on Tuesday the 5th of April in Orange County, California, weighing 8 pounds, and he was 20 inches long. Darren says Michelle was incredible and superhuman. All the Bears at the OCRSC would like to congratulate you both on the birth of your baby boy. Darren rose to fame last year when his mother showed up at LAX as a surprise. All the while he thought he was picking up Michelle's non-existent auntie from Mexico. And the social media video of him seeing his mum arrive after not having seen her for quite some time before that was picked up by countless media outlets across the globe. You might remember that. So congratulations to Darren, Michelle and baby Lennox. What a lovely story. And last, but most definitely not least on the shout-outs this week, I'd like to pass on huge congratulations to our web guru, the guy who does all of our logos and the final packaging and production of this very pod each week, and who is generally our technical wizard, Mr. Chris Lovett, on him finally getting married to Lady Katie this past Friday in San Francisco. They had a couple of false starts due to COVID and finally got the chance to tie the knot, as I say, this past week in a kind of smallish service in San Francisco with their family and close friends. I guess I must have missed that invite, and I believe they do have a plan to have a bigger celebration when they head back home to Scotland sometime later this year. I think that's still the plan. Maybe I might get invited to that one. Anyway, absolutely delighted for you guys, so please accept both mine and NARSA's hearty thanks for everything you do, and congratulations. And I do hope that you are around to upload this pod tonight. Actually, I know that you are because you told me earlier. So congratulations, guys. Really, really great to see, and the photographs looked wonderful as well. For a convention update this week, I can officially confirm that it's 52 days from today until the first official event of the 2022 convention. 52 days, oh my word. To put that in weeks context, just over 7 weeks to get everything sorted for the event. And by the way, this isn't something that we've overly advertised or really had as any part of our advertising collateral or anything like that. This year, while celebrating our glorious club's 150th anniversary, Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee 70th anniversary, and the 50th anniversary of Barcelona 72, we're also celebrating NARSA's 30th anniversary. Yeah, that's right, 30 years this year, which I understand is, I believe it's Pearl is the stone or the gift that you would give someone for that. I'll just leave it at that. But 30 years ago this year, Tam Plunkett and Davy Murray and a few other founding fathers got together and came up with this idea of NARSA. And here we are 30 years later, continuing their legacy by forging a NARSA that will hopefully be around for at least another 30 years and beyond. And we kind of kept that one on the back burner, but we will refer to it more and more as we close in on the event and do something kind of cool for that as well. So lots of anniversaries this year, brilliant. No more to communicate by the way of further announcements of guests. The main items we're working on for this week is securing ads for the convention magazine, locking in on sponsors and working with our partners to determine a wee bit of a special memento and gift for each of our guests that are going to come to Vegas, which I'm sure you'll absolutely love. And as always, it's a wee bit of a surprise, but we'll hopefully drum up a wee bit of excitement about that between now and then. So today, when you're listening to this, it might be too late already, but today, the 11th of April is the absolute last day for any football sign-ups, as we have to go to the manufacturers with sizes. So if you didn't sign up in time, but try to at some point later this week, you just might be able to secure a spot, but you're just going to have to take whatever size of shirt that is left. So if you're a bit on the bigger side and it's only smalls left, don't blame us. If you're a wee skinny malinky and it's only XLs left, again, do not blame us. You had more than enough notice to get in on this. And I tell you what, if this tournament is if the last tournament is anything to go by, this is going to be an absolutely brilliant event. The 2017 version was just a gold standard, and with the benefit of experience from that, I can see this one being even better. Just a quick reminder that you have 4 coaches coaching each of the 4 teams. Well, one coach coaching each of the 4 teams, and that's the captain, Richard Goff, 9-in-a-row legend, Davy Robertson, 9-in-a-row assistant manager, Archie Knox, and Mr. Craig Moore. They'll all be coaching. It's going to be absolutely wonderful to get out there and strut my stuff on the field again. Strut my stuff, aye, okay. And similar to the football, as I mentioned a couple of times, Andy Gray, Archie Knox and Richard Goff will all be golfing, and the golf days are brilliant as well. If you haven't booked a golf and intend to do so, we'll put the link in the blurb tonight as well. Another regular plug for the convention frequently asked questions document that I talk about every week. And what I have to say about the frequently asked questions document is it's quite apparent to me that next to no one actually reads it, which kind of isn't cool because it took us a long time to get it organised and get it loaded up to the website, and it is actually pretty helpful. I even get questions from people that should know better not to ask questions to say, here, let me just send you the link to the frequently asked questions document there. But you could just tell me, or you could visit the link. What about that? So if you have any questions on the convention, before you reach out to us, you might save yourself a wee bit of time and go and get it answered there. Everything that's on there is true and real and accurate and fact-checked by me. So you don't have to email me if it's already on there. Anyway, other business. Oh, you know what? We had a wee bit of a whoopsie moment last week. In the post-Vegas haze, we realised that we hadn't messaged all the clubs to let them know about the pending deadline, the 2-month deadline for any NARSA Constitution amendments and for any election nominations and seconds. And typically what we do around about 3 months to go is we'd message all the clubs letting them know that the deadline for the amendments and any nominations is coming up. But just in the humdrum of all the RTV stuff we were doing, the convention planning to go down and plan, this one just kind of slipped by us. Now, just to be absolutely crystal clear, in case anybody wants to get a wee bit agitated about it, we're under absolutely no constitutional obligation to send prior notice to the clubs. It's just a courtesy that we've typically extended to our membership during the 10 years that I've been serving on the executive. But unfortunately this year we sent a correspondence out a day after the required deadline stating that we would put an extraordinary extension in place until midnight last night. Until midnight last night we didn't receive any amendments, so I'll file this one in the no harm done bucket for now and we'll just move on. To be honest, I think I'm the only guy that's requested any constitution changes in the past 10 years anyway. So I wasn't really in full panic mode when I realised that the deadline had passed. It's just not as crisp as our typical communication fare as we go forward. So Just a reminder that we do have a 2 month deadline. The 2 month deadline is passed for nominations for the executive positions. This year we have one open, which is the communications director, which is open right now due to the resignation of Scott Allen. And we will be accepting applications for this position up to and including the AGM in Vegas itself. And between now and then, we'll create a job description for that as well, so you know what you would be signing up for if you have interest in that. On the communications front for this week, there really wasn't a whole hell of a lot to work on from the Rangers front, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, considering the angst that everyone felt over the botched Sydney friendly and then the tit for tat spat between the club and Club 1872. So I'm kind of cool with a quiet week if that's the alternative to that sort of drama. The main thing from the club this week was the manager Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's note to supporters that was posted on the website and social media channels today, entitled Rangers Through and Through. And here's a wee excerpt from it. Dear supporter, since returning to this institution back in November, I have been blown away by the backing you have given us both home and away in every single match we have played. I had nothing but fond memories from my playing days here, and to experience it all again has been fantastic. I have been lucky to play for major clubs across Europe and for my national team across the world. The level of support, not just in terms of noise and colour, but also in terms of sheer volume of numbers, is some of the best that I have experienced. The crowds we bring to stadiums across Europe is something my staff, the players and the board are immensely proud of. Ibrox is a special place and thoroughly deserving of its world-renowned status as one of football's most iconic venues, and you make it iconic. It then continues a wee bit about how great we are and thank you for supporting the club the way that we do, and then thanks us for renewing season tickets. So I'm assuming this is probably the email that would accompany the renewals for season tickets for season ticket holders that I believe went out today. I'm not 100% sure about that because I'm not a season ticket holder anymore, but that's likely what it was. I'll put a link in to the rest of the article. If you haven't seen it, you can take a wee peek at that. And I also saw that, we talked last week, or the guy who did the pod last week talked last week about the nutcase that threw the bottle, and I saw that someone had been arrested, charged, and had already appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court accused of assault via throwing the glass bottle. No plea was made at the time of the hearing, and he's been released on bail to appear at some yet to be determined date down the line. I'm going to have to take a note of the fella's name and check our convention listing to make sure that we don't have him on our guest list, because the last thing we need is a nutcase going off on one because something isn't going his way at the convention, as I'm assuming that's what he did last weekend, I guess it is. Now, just incredibly silly behaviour. Finally, on the comms front for this week, all being well, I will be on the Heart and Hand Daily Update tomorrow morning, North American time, of course, doing a wee bit of a plug for the convention planning efforts and talking about what we've got done already, what's still to be planned and organised and that sort of thing. So if any of you out there are also Heart and Hand subscribers and you like to listen to the daily update, you'll hear a wee bit of me. I'm not like doing the guest host thing, I'm just doing a wee quick interview with David first thing in the morning before it goes out, and I'll do my best to bring the standards of the Heart and Hand Daily Update down as I do on the NARSA Weekly Update pod every single week. So if you get a chance to check that one out, and then hopefully you'll get a chance to enjoy it. So that's going to do it for this week, my friends. I don't need to emphasise just how utterly massive this week is for our club. The potential of a major European semi-final is just an incredible dream for us to have, and it's no pipe dream. We showed that if we show up and do what we can do, then we have a fantastic chance of progressing. And then the Old Firm game will be what it will be. We start like we started last week, service Kamar Roof like we did on Sunday, and keep the Keystone Cup defending for the training ground, and I'm confident that we're going to have a cup final to look forward to next month as well. In the meantime, as always, thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's hoping your team wins 2 games on the trot. Take care, folks. All the very best. Cheerio.